So fam, welcome to Mandate, where we talk about men stuff and nothing is off the table. Woo! 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 Sorry.
Mandate.
So Phoenix, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about relationships, Charles. So why are we talking about relationships, Charles?
That's a great question. But because you've got your diary out, I'm gonna ask you.
So fam, we're pretty much talking about relationships, specifically with parents, parents and the relationship between parents and children, right? And how that relationship kind of shapes your whole worldview as a child, and then kind of how it shapes you to the person and affects the relationships you have with others as when you're growing up. Yeah. Cool, sweet. So the first segment of today, I asked a couple friends, brothers. I asked a couple friends of their advice or their opinion, perspective on a question that I asked. And the question that I asked them was, if you were to die today, touch wood, what would you want your child to remember you by? All right. Cool. My male friend. Do you guys want to start with male or female? What do you guys want to hear first?
We'll hear the males. We'll hear the males.
Hear the male? Hear the men?
Listen to the head.
All right.
No, sorry.
So my friend, I'll keep it anonymous, but my male friend, he's 36. He's a father. He's a husband. He has one kid and one kid on the way due this week, actually. Well, he said what he wanted his kids to remember him by or remember him for was his character. So his character on the way or on how he did things. Remember on how he did things, how he lived out making important decisions for himself and his family. That's what he wanted his kids to remember him for. And just the way he role modeled that character, the values that he stands by, the way he, going to the way he treated people, and also the relationships that he had. So it's funny, he talked about relationships with his parents, with his wife, with his family, his friends, all of that.
Damn, that's a lot to remember.
So pretty much his character. Yeah, his character and how he lived out serving, I'd say. I asked my female friend though. She is a mother of 3. She's 35. And she's from South Auckland. And my friend said she wants her kids to remember her by her endless hugs. Damn. Cut to the meme. Endless hugs. And that was real cool to hear that. I wasn't expecting that. But and that she would put them, or she would leave them in a place knowing that they are loved regardless. That was her motherly desire for them. And also that she had a voice, that her kids will know that mum had a voice. She gives a lot of hugs, and that she was always there.
That's me.
Yeah. So, in saying those two, perspectives, what's the things that came to your guys' mind, off the cuff, off the bat, in terms of a male perspective versus a female, as being both parents,
The power of simplicity is what came to mind. Thinking about the mums, endless hugs, that's something tangible that you can remember. I felt like personally I related more to the guys and wanting to be remembered for character and stuff. But the way the mum talked about endless hugs, I'm like, that's something so simple, physical. Right? Yeah, and so simple, and every kid, what kid doesn't like to be hugged?
Yeah.
I just think that's an amazing one to want to be remembered for.
Yeah, I just think about the nurturing nature of a mother.
Actuals.
Yeah, just always comforting us and nursing us, and and whereas men, we wanna show our kids and model to them all our attributes and leave something behind for them to follow. So
it's funny you mentioned that, because that was what came to mind when I heard the guys one. Was what's the point of being remembered? Why do we want, what benefit does it offer the kids to remember us by? like thinking about their character, and then just the way that you pointed out about how, you know, we want to show kids a pathway, or like a way that they can sort of follow instead of having to navigate the world blindly on their own and blindly, and like just face unnecessary hardship when there's a pathway there for them.
That's pretty buzzy. You say that, Charles, like having your kid kind of follow your steps, you know? I think I'm getting into a space like where I want my kid to do better than me, yes. Also leave something for him to maybe carry on, but if he or she chooses to not want to go down my path, like for me to make peace with that kind of thing. For me to make peace with him choosing his own path.
That's me.
That's the thing, like we don't always know the best path to take. So like maybe getting the kids to walk our path isn't necessarily the best thing for them. But like having that understanding, like you're saying, like this is our path, but totally understand you choosing and pursuing your own path.
I don't.
That's good.
Brad, any first thoughts?
The first thing that comes to mind with what sort of Charles and Jay pointed out was like I hate to say this because I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of flack for saying it, but the whole gender roles, like women, mothers be nurturers, and that's what, at least majority wise, that's what they do really, really well. And if we can all think back to our mothers and whether they nurtured us versus our father, I can't imagine having endless hugs with dad. That's just weird. Like, but with mum,
18.
Yeah, like 18 still. What, dad? Can I have a hug? Can you tuck me in? Like,
what about my story?
Where's with the on the flip side with the gender roles, the male being the leader and being like, I don't exactly know what you want to do, but you can see me as an example. I'm really passionate about this one thing, and I'm sort of showing you a way that you can get to what you want to do through hard work and practice and persistence and stuff. So it's just interesting that they both. I definitely, like Jay, I agree more with the character side. I want to be remembered for my character with my children, but just those gender roles is the thing that stuck out to me. But I hate to say that because I feel like everything's so PC now, and if you say gender roles, women are like, oh man, I don't want to have kids and stuff. Do what you want, bro. All good.
Who's the butcher?
Yeah.
I think I want to be more remembered like the way the mum was talking about now, though. Like when I think about it now, just like actually, I think I'd rather be remembered that way than remembered for my character. But that's just me now thinking about it. Like,
just knowing that you loved them, and they know that you loved them. Like regardless, whatever they done, if they, I don't know, murdered someone, you still love them. Like,
not that we're encouraging, man.
But like to that extreme. Pete, you got anything to add on?
No, because obviously you think of character, and I think that's the big thing that I think a lot of men think. Oh, character. You want your kids to you pass on good values and morals to your kids, and the kids understand that, and you want to leave a legacy. You always hear legacy. People want to leave a legacy. If anything, I don't know. I think just the power of influence, but I'm also what I would love to pass down to my kids is the ability to think for themselves.
Wow, that's powerful.
You know, to really think for themselves. You know, because obviously we're not going to be there. You know, as we get older. But if they, if I can be able to pass down the ability for them to say, hey, values, morals, but more so just think for yourself, be able to think for yourself, be able to kind of test things. I think that's I would love to pass that on to my kids, and not take things, and not just go with the flow, go against the grain if it needs to be, and not be afraid to go against the grain and go, hey, it's all good to go against the grain and have that and instill some sort of courage in our kids to just say, hey, I believe in this, I take a stand on this, and this is why, because I'm thinking for myself instead of I do this because everyone else is doing it. And so if I can pass that on to my kids, then I think they'll be in good stead for the future.
That reminds me of a quote that the world only moves forward because of those who oppose it, and that goes against the crowds, against the group. And that's that's
me.
That thinking for yourself, man. That's powerful. For your kids to be able to make conscious decisions, off of their own intuition and you know, their own spirit. But yeah.
Patrick Bet David, I think he gives such a good sort of illustration as to why that's the one thing. If you could teach your kids one thing, it would be like problem solving, like the idea of being able to just think for themselves and navigate this world through how they through their mind and through what they believe is the strongest thing for them,
which is becoming more difficult to do for our young ones.
Actually,
the pressure of social media and
influencers. What's trending, what's in.
I guess that's another episode altogether.
Alright, so I've had the task of sort of thinking about the old school views on something versus the new school views on something. The first thing that came to mind in terms of like viewpoints back in the days and now with parenting is like smacking kids and stuff. Like I don't know when exactly the anti-smacking law came out, but I do feel like that sort of started the change in parenting. And I just want to know what you guys think about smacking, and even you guys out there about smacking kids. I'm not condoning it right now. Well, this is the conversation, bro. Like, what do you guys think about?
Such a tricky one, eh?
Wow. I'm gonna get locked up for my answer.
Too particular outside. I think
remove my kids.
Bro, the next Monday episode we'll all be here with like no kids, bro. We'll be here like depressed inside. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like at least where I come, like my initial thinking is, back in the days I presume it was fine to like smack your kids. If someone's at the shopping market and they saw a lady smack their child, like they wouldn't be like,
all good.
Yeah, it's just fine. Like that's just the way it is. They understand. Whereas now, if that happened, I'm pretty sure someone would call.
Bro, the kids might call the cops. I've seen kids like, if you hit me, or if you touch me, I'm gonna call the cops.
Hold up.
Yeah.
So, what's your fellas sort of thoughts on these two different perspectives?
We're gonna have different opinions. I can just feel.
I don't know. I think some of the parents. I think because of the new smacking bill, I think a lot of the parents have lost that sort of authority or some sort of power.
True.
You know, obviously, we know the difference between a beating and a smack and beating.
What is the difference between a beating
like you smashing, punching your kid or whatever, elbowing your kid, all that kind of stuff where you kind of discipline them with, I don't know, could be a smack on the bum or something like that, or a bit of a growling. But I don't know. I think nowadays, because you're saying, Jay, some of the kids are now like, oh, you touch me to the mum, and you touch me, I'll call the cops on you. And then parents are like, oh, okay, I can't smack my kid now, or I can't discipline my kid now. I think there's a fine line of disciplining your kid and a fine line of not being able to discipline them, because now it's like deemed if you even yell at them or kind of, click them around the ears, it's like, oh, it's automatically abuse now, and just and so you kind of, I think parents have lost that power to really like discipline their kids.
So do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh man, I think it's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing when parents can't feel afraid to discipline their own kids, and then you have kids who just, you smack me, I'll call the cops. And so it's kind of like you give them all these rights, but they don't know what's, they don't really know what's at a young age, in terms of the moral value of being disciplined. And so it's just, I don't know, I think it's kind of backfired on New Zealand society.
And saying that, I've heard other parents respond to that, like, I'll call the cops on you, like, it'll take 5 minutes for the cops to get here.
True.
That is with my phone.
True, that's true.
It's interesting.
I feel like I missed out from not getting hidings there. Like, in terms of like gratitude, not taking lessons in deeply enough.
You mean like you missed out, like you didn't get hidings, or?
Yeah, I didn't get hidings. And pros and cons definitely. But even lectures are inside wounds sometimes. Hard. Like if I were to have kids, I would want to draw the line whether it deserves a spank on the bum or actually a mean hiding to not ever do ever again. If it's just a slap on the wrist or a lecture when they're older. And it's funny, I had this conversation with my partner earlier this week, for our kids. Like as a toddler, you gotta be mindful that you don't smack them like on the arm or on the head, because they might take it to school and then start smacking the other kids on the arm or the head. So I might smack them on the bum because they know not to smack other kids' bum, but it still hurts, you know, to learn a lesson. Growing up, and if they get a bit older, you know, drawing the line, like if they deserve like a mean smack, then give them a smack. But if they deserve a mean lecture, you know, if it's something that they need talking about, then I can talk to them. So drawing that line. And then it was interesting because we even got into, so when is it our fault that our kid plays up? You know, have they been? And then we made like FSRS, like a quick checklist of, are they fed? Are they just hungry and that's why they're playing up? Have they slept? Is that why they're playing up? Are they, what was the other one? Are they in routine? You know, is that why they're playing up? Because they're out of routine, so they're just, you know, off the cuff. And then the last one was, have they showered? Are they feeling fresh? Or are they like mucky? You know what I mean? So going through that, and if we've failed one of those, then we have ourselves to blame because we haven't covered that as their need. They're just necessary needs.
I think there's a psychology around that. I think it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's essentially like all those basic needs, like children can't function, let alone learn in a classroom if like those basic needs are not being met.
Wow, man.
That's pretty cool.
Trying to make something, but just personally, I feel like I wish I could have got a smack. As sore as it would have been, I felt like I would have learned a lot more by living like my parents. But because every parent wants different for their child, you
they
know,
want better for their
they want better for their kid. But there's always some consequence that, you know, blind shots you.
So you're ungrateful.
Yeah, I am.
So you need a hiding now.
Jump me.
Please,
the line.
Nah, I hear you, bro.
To a degree, not like, you know, not pulling out weapons. Like I've heard some weird, crazy stories. You probably seen it live. But I'm grateful to be a millennial or like zillennial, Generation Z. We were like, kids are ungrateful and just taking things for granted nowadays. That they can get away with anything.
It's kind of interesting that you mentioned about like when does it become the parents' fault that our kids sort of act up, and like and Brad, you mentioned like one of you guys mentioned like how parents always want better or different for their kids, but I think sometimes parents, they don't really understand the cost, or like they don't really understand what better looks like, or like the inner workings of what this better life means.
True.
Whether it's their own routine and the way they operate, or for the kids themselves. I'm just sort of thinking now about the stuff that I want for my daughter. Like I want her to do better, and on the outside I've got these theories, but I don't really understand the inner workings of that. So if things don't work out the way I want, then you know,
back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board, and perhaps I might have made things worse in some ways because I haven't taken the time to really understand, how things work and why I want it to work that way.
It doesn't help. You're kind of just thrown in the deep end when it comes to parenting. I mean, you can never be prepared.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. It's been 2 years now.
There's no manual to be now.
And even if there is, it's never enough. Like you're still unprepared after reading it. You still know nothing about what it's actually like to be a parent.
Even after having 7 kids.
I had 5, man. Oh, 5. No, there's twins on the way. That I know of. Wow. I'm joking.
Well, my daughter's 16 and I'm still trying to figure it out and trying to adapt. And, growing up, we got hidings, and so you sort of parent what you know, but I realized, shucks, it's like, can you still be a good parent without giving a hiding or giving a smack? And lately I've just been, for me, it's trying to communicate better. For our parents, the way they knew how to communicate to us was a hiding through their hands. And then, so how do I communicate to my daughter without touching her? And it's a lot of talking, and it's a lot of trying to understand, and then you got to realize their development as a teenager, or their brain development, they're still growing. And so you got to take all this stuff into consideration, whereas before, no one tried to understand. It was like, you do what you're told, and that was and when that, I remember when the bill was coming to play, it was, man, Islanders were going overboard. There was kids being hospitalized, and
after the bill.
Before the bill.
Oh, true.
Which is why they passed the bill.
And it was getting real bad. But I don't know. It's a fine line, eh?
Yeah, bro.
It is.
But that's all our generation keep on talking about. It's like, man, these kids just need a hiding. But do
True.
they? I feel like, we just need to understand.
Yeah.
And communicate better.
They might need a hiding, but it's not just the hiding with a whakangi lecture.
Man, it's funny you mention that because I'm training to be a teacher, obviously, we're real big on, talking things out. And so, you talk about the decentralization of that power and that authority, from parents. I personally think it's a good thing. It's more work for us as parents because you're right, we have to communicate, we have to navigate and try and understand how our children are feeling. And we have to be more wary of our example. And it's not that whole, what's it? That quote.
As I say, not as I do.
Yeah. We can't just rely on that now. We actually have to make more of an effort to actually raise our children. So I personally think it's a good thing that, we're not smacking our kids. I think it's the way to go, and I think it's important to give kids the space in the room to express themselves and the home. And we just have to accept the fact that it's going to be messy, it's going to be untidy, and it's going to be uncomfortable for us as parents because it goes against everything we've been raised to do. But that's part of the journey. And I think at the beginning we can negotiate with our kids because we have a much more awareness about what motivates them, so we can negotiate that stuff. But eventually there's this, I don't know, I just anticipate there's this switchover where they outgrow us quite young. And that's them negotiating with us. And so I think it's a good thing. Keeps us on our toes, even though it sounds not hopeful for us as parents. I think it's good for us to always be learning, always be growing.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I definitely agree with it. I know that there's people out there that might have kids that are a bit on the crazy side, and it's hard to sort of reel them in, and that would take a lot more talking. I don't know. I just feel like if there are parents out there that do feel like beating, beating's out of the question. I feel like no one should ever beat their kid. Where it's a smack on the hand with a spoon, or you can't. I still feel like you have to talk to them. They don't understand. If you just smack them, don't do that again. They don't understand why. Just, why not? Why can't I go and talk to that old man over there? So you sort of have to sit them down, and there's still a lot of work. So if you are going to smack your kid, I do feel like you have to explain to them why this is happening and why you want them not to do that again or whatever. But
but we're not advocating for that.
But we would challenge you not to smack your
kid. Don't go. No one tell orang to make you be as a missing kid.
Oh man! The next Monday episode is all of us in prison. Wow, prison episode. Oh nah. You're locked down.
Lockdown rule of.
Yeah, it's interesting, bro. And it's just crazy the way that the generations. It's just changed. It's just completely different.
Yeah, and I think one thing that that's a challenge for, especially for men, is talking about this stuff. Men are going through the same thing, and even with parenting. So, I'm always seeking advice from others, even through young women, in their 20s that I've seen have good relationship with their fathers. What was it like for you? What worked for you guys? And so getting advice in there and trying to get a better understanding of my kid. And I'm a youth worker. I was pastoring, and I have so much patience for everyone else, but when it comes to my children, they get the backing of my my patience. Like I'm patient with everyone, but them was like, hey, just listen. So
You take your work home.
yeah, so I'm always having to like make sure, man. Like everything I really want to say to these other kids, like you know, but I'm like, nah, I gotta keep that same energy. And I'm still learning a lot of stuff. It's hard to navigate, but we just, as long as we're evolving and really wanting to adapt and get better, then I know our kids will appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I like what you and Jay said also about like communicating. Like a baby only cries because that's its only way of communication. You know, and it doesn't know any words. So I feel like starting that communication at a younger age. Of like, okay, why did you do that? Why did you not share your lollies? Or why did you take that from that person? And then going into, because she did this to me, you know, and then like breaking that down. Okay, next time, like and actually getting that exercise in with your child. I'm not a dad yet, but this is just, you know, me trying to prepare myself, you know, trying to implement troubleshooting rather than just getting frustrated. And then also I said of my partner, like if I'm fired up, I'm gonna send them to you to have a decent conversation, to have a conscious controlled conversation rather than me going to sleep rather than me putting my kid to sleep there.
That's a good point though. I know, like, similarly, like I'm quite short-tempered, and so when things are too much, it's best just to
tag out.
Tag out. We just have to take the tag.
Tag out.
But the other thing you mentioned, I think, is really important. Is like sometimes kids don't understand why they do stuff. So like prompting them with questions and getting them to really think about why they did a certain behavior or whatever is, I think, such a good strategy for getting kids to think deeper about that sort of stuff.
That's cool.
Think before they act. You
know how I know you're gonna be a good dad?
How?
Because and it's something that that all parents go through, is that you're having these conversations now with your partner and you guys are coming up with a plan together. Some of the pitfalls for parents is that one has one parenting style and the other one has a different parenting style, and so they're clashing, and then their children are getting affected. But used to already having that conversation now and sort of saying this is what we should do together. And man, you guys gonna be amazing parents.
Appreciate that.
Not like most of us figure it out halfway through or 5 kids later. Okay, maybe we should be doing this together. Instead of making the babies together, maybe we should parent like this. But
my mom told me about that. Like when my mom growled, my little sister, she told us don't get in and be like, it's alright, Jalissa Ann, it's alright. To not have 2 voices in her head, you know. Stick with the voice that's teaching her something, you know, that's gonna make her reflect on that. That's cool. That's powerful. You said that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I haven't asked my family for permission on this, but I think it'll be good for whoever's listening. Like, one thing I'm been seeking my external supervisor is like a counselor, but one thing I went to him was like the communication between me and my daughter. And one of the things is, so me and my daughter are both fiery. So when we talk or communicate to each other, it's both like, well, you know, both fiery or clashy, but sometimes it's just normal. That's how we communicate. But because for my wife, it's like gets a bit too much for her, so she'll jump in. So, but we're like 2 fighters going into the ring, and we're not completing our fight. Like we're not finishing it off. So one thing that like I think me and my wife need to navigate is that she needs to allow us to go through it, so we know how to communicate better in the long run, instead of just going in round 1 and then that's it. Because the refs come in and they start and things are still like, you know, haven't been resolved. And so at the moment, like right now, we're trying to not go too far. Once let the ref come in if it gets
out of hand.
As long as you're within the boundaries.
So I think
cool. Low blow.
we get it better. Yeah, I'm getting better at that, and
Strike.
I think it's just really being on the same page with my wife.
It's cool, man.
That's cool.
I think one of the things that's helped me is, especially kind of disciplining my kids, is because you kind of know your kids' personality.
Yeah.
You have some kids who like you try to talk to them, they're like guess through one ear to the other, and they're quite stubborn. Like my daughter, she's 16 and she's quite stubborn. Like Charlie's very stubborn and she won't listen, and she's like, oh, okay. Whereas my son, he's quite kind of more words. Like I can break him down with words. Hey, you better stop that, and he just cries. And so sometimes my wife and I, we have this bit of a, like she's for me, like she thinks I'm gonna spank him. So yeah, I don't know, must be my warped mind. She's like, oh yeah, put your pants, I'm gonna smack you, Well, then I get the wire, get the cord. Guys, so look, get the wire, get the wire, get the cord. Put your pants, I'm gonna smack you. And my wife's like, oh, she can't. She looks at me, oh, you fob. She gets off, I'm gonna smack you. And my son's like, he's about to cry, and I'm like, and 1, 2, real soft. And I was like, oh. But the thing is, I just tap. I don't beat him. I just tap him, and he just like starts crying. And so it's like it's interesting because I know I'm not gonna do it. But I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of warped that I can do these movies. But yeah. So I just tap him. Yeah.
You're building the suspense. So in his mind, he's like, oh, like, and then you're like, boom.
Sounds like my upbringing. Sounds like this guy.
But it works for myself. Like I know his personality. He knows when I talk to him. He's like, okay. And it's not kind of not breaking them, but it's like, okay, I know him. It's just more words. It's gonna kind of gets him to like, okay, I shouldn't do this. And whereas Charlie is more like, okay, Charlie's it's more kind of hardcore. Like, hey, Charlie, you better. And so it kind of works for them. And so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of worked for myself and my wife. But you're right. You're saying, Charles, because we're given hidings when we were kids. Hey, because we're given hidings, and so it's embedded. It's something that's embedded in us. It's embedded. You want to just your initial reaction is like, oh, I'm gonna smack you, because that's how we were raised up. And so I don't know. Just a thought, because how many of us in here we've got hidings, where you thought, man, you know what? Because of those hidings, it was quite beneficial for me in terms of growing up, in terms of my learning. How many of us like that?
I always thought I wanted to scrap whoever gave me a hoodie. Bro, when I get old, I'm going to give you a hoodie.
True.
Now there's go to your room and like put fingers through the wall. Like,
Look on the wall, Jerry, you see some other writing.
Go into the bathroom, look at the mirror.
No. Go to the roof. Go to the roof.
Oh, jeez.
That's true, man.
Speaking my life, man. That actually brings up one other sort of point that we haven't touched on, is because there's lots of men nowadays that were raised getting hidings, and they're here now, and there's no smacking, no beating allowed. I think there's kind of this macho thing of like, especially if someone plays up in front of like other people or other family, if you don't discipline your kid in front of them, like, gee, you're weak. Like, you're really the dad, you're really the father. So there's like, but no doubt there is some kind of stigma, and there's some kind of, people feel like they're obliged, they have to uphold that macho, I don't know, yeah. No doubt there's people out there that are going through that, and I think it takes, you're a bigger man if you can not do things, then, you're not a man because you can take this drug and you can drink this and you can beat your kids. I think you're more of a man if you choose not to do that. If you have the opportunity to and you choose not to. And so I think taking that idea and really talking it out with the kids and disciplining them in a different way shows that, at least to me, I think you're much more of a man that way than by just straight beating your kids in front of people just to be seen so that, you're macho and you're strong.
Yeah, I want to become my kid's best friend, like when I'm 40, 50, and my kid's like 18, 20, even at like, I guess like college, high school.
You're the safe space,
you're the safe space.
Download and talk
Like,
about anything.
Hard out, and like, I want to build that with my kids, even like from primary, like from when they can talk,
That's good.
And I know I can have that with my dad, after a couple boxes. Nah, I can talk to my dad or whatever. But yeah, I want to build that authenticity with them, and like they can tell me whatever, man.
And this could actually get in the way if you're constantly like beating your kids to try and discipline them.
Mixed
and teach them.
messages, hey.
Exactly.
Just sense of mixed messages.
Like
And
you're
they
beating
got
them, and then
confused.
later on you're like, "Oh, I love you, good night."
Yeah,
It's like,
Yeah.
really, this is kind of like,
The whole I hate you because I love you.
Yeah.
it's because I love you. It's true, man.
I got
Yeah.
a lot of
Shout out
love.
to Nan and Grandpa.
Shout out too. That's so true, man.
So you got heaps of love growing up.
That's so true, man.
You're the most
Yeah.
loved.
Wow. Oh, lucky, man.
You wonder why Samoans or Islanders are like the best fighters in the world.
Because they're tall young, eh?
Bro, yeah, we were smashed when they were little.
Yeah, man.
I know we're laughing about it, we're not being sensitive, but it's like, damn.
Now when you like block your like parents' hit, and
Oh,
Yeah, you're getting the,
then it comes back again.
you're getting the middle side of the bat now.
The buckle. Oh.
Good times.
Good times.
I didn't
Good
get
discussion.
much. I didn't get much, but
Just like tangent of this, I went to a school in South Auckland for my practicum last year, and like there was only a few Islander kids in the class, but like one of the first conversations I had with them was like, "Oh, sir, did you get a?" They'll like ask me straight up, like, "Sir, did you get a hiding from your parents when you lived with them? Oh, what was the best hiding you got? Like, bro, just sharing stories about hiding. Like, shh, the teachers go, I'm gonna get in trouble talking about your hidings." But I just thought it was funny that even now, well, not funny, but like it's bittersweet. Funny, sad, but that there's kids still now that, like, even though that law's in place, they still are going through like beatings, and although they can laugh at it, in the moment, it's you know, it still doesn't really do them any good. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting, like. Even today, it's still real.
It's almost romanticized, eh? I mean, because there's a law in place stopping parents from giving hidings. That if you did get a hiding back in the days, it's like, oh, you got a hiding.
Badge of honor.
Ooh.
Badge of honor.
Badge of honor.
Bit of status.
Initiation.
True. So what did you get a hiding with?
That's always the conversation. It's always like, what did your parents hit you with? And everyone's
Three
like,
weapons.
everyone's
Three
like,
weapons. Right off the back.
Monster truck.
Anything that was like, yeah. No, I think I love my parents. Thank you, mom and dad. Love you so much. Throw them under the bus.
I don't think I have 3. I can remember skipping rope.
Oh,
Skipping rope and like the whip on it.
bro, that's
Yeah. I think it was plastic.
Oh,
Damn.
It was me and my brother, so it was all good. So we were both fighting.
Take it
So,
together.
yeah, it was
not the handle way.
I think Salu was the worst thing.
Salu.
The Salu. Because, bro, when you get smacked with that, like, all the whoops.
Remember the wooden spoon? Like if it broke?
Gee, I used to hate that.
That's the other middle.
Yeah, man.
all in all, don't hit your kids' family.
I think what we're really trying to
close it
say
down.
here
All
is-
in all,
still healing.
communication. We're in the transition period in this era.
Abusive Parents Anonymously. Hi guys.
Yeah.
So really, what it comes down to is communication, eh? I think.
Yeah.
In terms
That's
of
the
disciplining your kids, we've gone full circle here,
Yeah.
but we'll come back to
Communication,
bro.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that there's you can do the 5 love languages test on your kids?
Well,
So
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
that's
that
cool.
was
That'd be really
yeah,
helpful,
that's
Yeah.
a game changer. Realizing that my daughter is a words of affirmation person and my son is quality time. So my son will remember all that trips that we've
cool.
gone on.
Oh,
That's gold.
He
Nice,
loves
nice.
it. And I used to think, why does my daughter appreciate it? But it's because she
Different.
loves
yeah,
it in a
she's
different way.
different.
Yeah.
And like,
Mm.
yeah, I think that was a game changer for me.
What is the love language? Like, what is that whole love languages thing? What is that?
Great question. It's about how we receive love and how we give love, and like there's sort of 5 different categories or 5 different love languages, and one is so words of affirmation. People like to receive words of affirmation, like "Oh man, you're great, love you," blah blah, and that makes them feel good. Another one's acts of service. Gifts. That's 3.
Quality time.
Quality times
And
4.
physical, like
And
affection.
physical touch. Physical affection.
So most everyone sort of gravitates more towards 1 or 2
Yeah,
more
you
than the
might have
others.
your
Yeah,
top
cool.
2. Or,
Yeah.
So if, I think mine is words of affirmation. Oh no, quality time. I can't remember. But anyway, I didn't know there was one you could do for your children. And I think that was like a sort of like a game changer for me, like trying to understand my children's love language. Like I've spent the last couple of years trying to understand my wife's love language, and that helped in our relationship, because sometimes, oh man, we're going into marriage,
Cool.
but
Let's go.
Sometimes like we give out our love language the way we want to receive it. So if I'm a words of affirmation and my wife is not, I'll be saying, oh, I love you, because that's how I want to receive it, but it just goes over here because my actions are not matching what I'm saying, because her love language is acts of service. So if the house is not clean, and if I'm not doing stuff around the house and I'm saying I love you and I haven't done any of that, it's just means nothing to her. So like so to show my wife I love her, I gotta actually show her. I gotta do the stuff, do the mahi, so I can get the treat.
So there's like a test or something.
That's when
You get a cookie at the end of the day, bro.
That's where the lust languages comes in.
Wait, so there's like questions you ask the person you want to know.
There's
want
a
to know
test you
about.
can.
There's a test you can do. Okay,
There's a test. So there's one for your children. If you look up five love languages, you can do one for the whole family. So I did it for my kids and my daughter's words of affirmation, and my son's quality time. So my son will remember all our trips, and he values that time, and he'll remember when we go to places, or just he likes to stay home and watch TV and stuff as a family. Whereas my daughter, her one's, I felt really convicted, and I'm still challenged at the same time right now. I'm trying to navigate the space, because like a lot of my insecurities as a young person was because I copped a lot of flack from friends because I was like mimika, or like big-headed. And so me trying to keep my daughter humble is not giving her like all those, trying to stroke her ego. And because she's real good at stuff, like she'll come home and say, oh dad, I got this, and instead of me saying, oh awesome baby, that's awesome, that's who you are, I'll be like, oh that's great, and that's it. That's in my head, that's teaching her how to be humble. But she's looking for
affirmation.
She's looking for me to love her, and that's and I'm not giving it. So I don't know, in her head probably I'm not loving her enough because I'm not. But for me, it's like I'm trying to keep her humble, so I'm trying to communicate more with her in terms of her love language, and still a challenge because like we're talking about our relationships with our own parents. Like my dad was similar to yours. Just he provided, he brought home the bacon, and we never communicated, but I knew he loved us because he worked long hours. And so, I'm having these sort of the same barriers with my daughter, but we're getting better.
Cool.
Man, that's me.
Cool,
Shot for
man.
Sherry, bro.
Not to say like it'll work different. I'm just throwing out a different devil's advocate kind of thing. But I always find sometimes it's interesting when like parents make an adjustment based on their own experience to try and stop their children from falling into the similar pitfalls. But in doing so, that's the very thing that ends up getting them to fall into the same sort of barriers. I don't know.
What do you mean? Like, for example, like
so like say Charles' example, like, you know, you mentioned your daughter, and like if you didn't want her to get a big head, so you don't give her the sort of words of affirmation that she needs, and then say by not giving her the words of affirmation, she goes out to get the words of affirmation from someone else, and then she gets even a bigger head. Then I always just find that's
or the danger is that because she's not getting it from me or the right words of affirmation, she'll go find it in places that will give her the wrong words of affirmation. We'll say stuff that
that tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah,
pull it down.
Pull it down, or and she might be drawn to someone else that not necessarily the right person for her. Yeah,
there's so many variables. In
Who knows? What are you gonna say?
Sorry. So let's drink them. But that's a like real gray area. Like, you don't want to give her words of validation where she seeks for your validation, you know. But if it's communicated well and like you let her know, I guess. Okay, this isn't me giving you worth. You already have the worth.
Yeah.
You know. But this is me congratulating you because this was a mean win. But only seek true affirmation from those who really love you. You know, don't go out looking for any Tom, Dick, and Harry's validation. Just do it because the real ones, you're doing it for your real ones, and the real ones love you for that.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
I remember that too.
Just a question for you anyway, Charles, because you talked about your daughter being like humble, or you don't want her to be big-headed. But has she given you like some sort of indication or signs that she is not humble, or she's?
Nah, my daughter's. Nah, she's humble. I think it's more because of my own insecurities. So a lot of my own insecurities, like, really, I sort of pick it in my daughter, and then she's feeling real frustrated from it. So teenage parenting is a whole nother level.
So what's your guys' love languages, brothers?
Yeah, what's yours?
Yeah, you know, out of the 5.
No, I think mine would be words of affirmation. Words of affirmation, and also quality time. I don't know, I just love kind of quality time with family, with my kids, my wife. But yeah, I kind of like that. And you're right, you had a good point, Charles, when you said, because I like these words of affirmation, I'm the one who's always trying to give it. And I say to my wife, and she's, and she's, I think, I don't know, she's watching this, then I think her one's more of exe. I think so. Because I say, I love you, and she's like, I'm like, oh man. But I wanted to get it back, but maybe that's why. And so I think that's my two.
That's cool. Yeah, no, for me and my wife is gifts. She loves gifts. Mine is acts of service. So, you know, like Valentine's Day, annoying. Birthdays, that's necessary.
She's waiting for her gift.
Like, she's waiting for a gift, and I'm like, I made my bed today. You didn't have to do it. Like, I got you today. But like, for me, I love acts of service because like, people don't have to do anything, and so when they take the time out of their day to do something small, man, I'm always deeply grateful, and I always remember it. So that's how
Man, how about you, Brad?
Physical touch, eh?
I can tell by your kids.
But honestly, I think it's physical touch. We did this.
You gotta put in a tough child.
I'll give you a hug every time I see you now.
Oh man, I think so. Like, it's been so many years since we did this, but I think it was physical touch.
What
My
about
wife's one is acts of service, I think. So she's never satisfied. No, jokes. I ain't not cleaning anything. No, jokes. No.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, see, we're having marriage counseling right now. So. Guys, always.
What about
always
I haven't done it since high school, so, and I was a different person back then as well. Yeah, I think I actually like try to cheat the test so that I wouldn't get, words of affirmation, because I knew that I was a big people pleaser when I was younger. But then I got quality time from what I answered, and then I thought about it, and I did actually like that more than words of affirmation growing up. But I think I need to do it again. Yeah, like I love quality time. I don't know, I can't remember what my partner's one is, but we're gonna take it tonight.
What about just based on your experience with your partner? If you had to guess
It's
your
not
partner's
gifts. It's not gifts. Every birthday gift, like, it's like, yeah, thank you.
Treatment.
And then like, yeah.
She's like, you didn't clean house.
So's the receipt. It doesn't fit. Like I definitely know she's not a big material person, so she doesn't like gifts. But I think it's service. Yeah, acts of service, small things around the house. She appreciates and notices, like just doing the washing without being asked, changing the rubbish in the room, making the bed.
Mom,
You're showing off, doing the dishes, making dinner, bringing Macca's home without her asking, just
extra mac sauce.
extra Mac sauce, man, steam buns.
Steam buns.
No, how do you know she appreciates it?
Because later on, because I feel more, I can hear it in her voice of like, the thank you is way more authentic than like I really appreciate it.
Sorry.
Wait,
I can hear it in the voice.
I can hear it in the voice. It's
Respect,
much more genuine than me getting a gift, to try and show.
That's me.
That's me.
And cheaper.
But everybody likes gifts. Everyone likes gifts there to a degree.
Cool, man.
Yeah, how that.
She's a keeper, man.
Yeah, I love
You're a
gifts.
keeper.
I like the receipts.
Thanks.
What you love me
I love gifts.
Go to
I'll
your
get
5
the
love
receipt.
language. 5 language. Sponsor us 5lovelanguages.com down here. Go and take your
I can't
test.
believe we're promoting a westernized
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the
the free love languages.
Buy money.
Send money. Give money. Loan money.
Cool. So communication is the most important.
Communication. Understand each other. Understand your children. Understand your parents.
Yeah, that's really what it comes with. I mean, we've segued into this love languages, but that plays such a big part in really understanding the children, understanding how
Even
to
our
communicate
parents.
with them and our parents as well. Yeah.
Like, it's interesting thinking about our parents. Like, you mentioned you applied it to your daughter, but how would you apply it to your parents? Like, when you think back about
true.
how you were raised by your parents, like, it would be interesting to see what connections you make there as well. Yeah.
How important do you think it is for us to have both parents in the picture? Like, you look at some of the stats in New Zealand. We've got quite a bit of some real negative stats. And so you're looking at even in the early 2000s, they were saying that New Zealand had developed the world's highest birth rates outside of marriage. So you're looking at run about 44%. And then, so this is real high. And so this is, you were talking about the early 2000s, and then you had, we were the third highest in terms of birth rates or teenage pregnancy. This is behind USA and the UK, but thankfully it's declined. And they said that a third of those kids who were born without fathers in the household. And so they said 65% of young youth offenders go to jail and those kids had no fathers or had no father figure in the house. And so for me, I'm thinking, man, it's crucial to have both parents. I really believe in terms of having a relationship with mum and dad and the picture. And so when dad is not there, we already know that. We always talk about kids with no fathers and all that kind of stuff. And this is one of the biggest issues that a lot of the kids or the family are having. And so what are your thoughts on all those kind of like having both parents in the picture and the relationships with your own mum and dad, and did we have mum and dad always in the picture as we grew up?
I was just going to say, to add on to that, do you think the gender of those parents matters? So having both parents is a thing, but do you think it also makes a difference if both of those parents are male or both those parents are female?
Yeah.
They're getting up to those eggshells again.
This is good, Jay. This is awesome, Jay.
Yeah.
Because they say generally in New Zealand, the population is 20% of population of the kids have grown up with a single parent. And so a lot of it's obviously the females.
That's a lot.
So say like 24% female women, and then you had 5% fathers or men, and the other 5% were just grandparents. And so still very high. Eh? But you're right. Is it?
Does it make a difference?
Does it make a difference if it's mum or
the same sex? I think it does, personally, because men and women are so different, and like we sort of illustrated before with the gender roles, we just talked about it. Yeah, men are just very wired differently, and women are wired very differently. And I think when both of them work in tandem together, that strength. I mean, one person's weaknesses is definitely the other person's strength. I find that with my wife and I. Things I'm very weak at, she just thrives at, and vice versa. I'm really good at some things, and she's not so good at. So we just balance each other out. And then when it comes to parenting, we're doing that as a team. So it just, if you're both strong at the same things and both weak at the same things, I'm not saying that that's just the way it is, but I mean, and yeah, that's at least what I think. That's my 5 cents, 2 cents, whatever. But in terms of what you're saying, yeah, I think absolutely crucial that both parents are there. Like, definitely.
Yeah. The work that I do, so I work in the youth justice sector, and a lot of the referrals I get Pacifica youth offenders, and the majority of them all have absent fathers, or their grandparents are raising them.
Wow.
Because both parents are absent, either drug related or both in prison or something. But just I think having 2 parents is better than one, or you have a better chance of like having been brought up a certain way or got that connection. And but there's amazing surly parents out there that are doing an amazing job of both mom and dad. But yeah, I reckon it's you get a, I don't know, like a stronger, better chance at navigating through life when you got 2 parents in your life.
That's the thing, it doesn't guarantee it. But
Yeah,
better chance.
but yeah, better chance. Yeah. That's sad. I'm really interested in what are the stats like for Pacifica men in prison. Like how many of them have absent parents or solo parents, or yeah, really interested. I should find out, or let you stats guy find out for us.
Yeah, that's a hard one, eh?
Thinking about my own parents, like they split like just as I was starting high school, and I was just thinking of like what things did I, what consequences did I face from that. I'd say it's hard because there's cleaning my washing here, doing my laundry, but I don't mind if they see it. There's just being transparent that like my parents are still not on the same page. 10 years later, they still can't handle each other, and it's hard when they use the kids against each other, and the kids are being the rope that they're tugging. But yeah, I think that was one thing me and my partner also spoke about, like when we first started dating, is that like I don't want our kids to be, us to be fighting over the kids, and so we're gonna do our best to break the cycle of broken households, of marriage. I mean, like divorce, and or even just splitting up. Just splitting up and not seeing eye to eye. Following different individual paths. But I feel like it's an interesting thing because, yes, you can have a relationship with your mother individually, your father individually, but seeing them together and them showing that, like, role modeling how to love each other. I still have memories of like my parents still loving each other, playing games, and I understand that they just were heavy competitors. none of them wanted to lose. So when it came to arguments, none of them wanted to lose. If it came to sports, none of them wanted to lose. If it came to the dance floor, none of them wanted to lose. So just for being out there, you know, know your role and keep the competition fun. Keep the competition fun, because man, once it gets too intense, like my parents would like. It was funny. Like, me and my friends are over. Me and my brothers we're watching State of Origin. Just me and my dad is New South Wales. My mum and all my other brothers are all Queensland.
Your mom's
Queensland lost that year after the streak. After that year, you know, Queensland lost, and then there just so happened to be an argument that night. You know, I don't know what it stemmed from, but it started from bickering, and then later on in the night got physical and all that jazz. But yeah, keep the competition fun. That's what I'll say. And yeah, I feel like it's definitely, you know, wholesome. It brings wholeness to the individuals, and I believe like wholesome households nurtures wholesome individuals, and then when they're out in those spaces, they're being whole, they're sharing that wholeness with others. And yeah, that's amen. That's me.
Thanks for sharing that.
No, all good.
Yeah, you're modeling to whoever's watching, like just these tough conversations we're having, and it's not easy. So shout also. Thanks for sharing that.
I like what you said about like how the parents should be modeling to the kids, you know, what their relationship would be like when they find their spouse, and how they should love each other.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I'm guessing it's hard for people from broken homes, really, really broken homes, to learn to trust another person and love them. You know, the way that really a couple should be working together. So,
although in saying that, I think it is important for kids to see the highs and the lows as well. I think it's important for them to see the parents have those disputes, but find a way
to work it out.
I think it's really important. Yeah, I know that's a pet peeve of mine. Like, learning to lose, I think, is such a skill.
Yeah.
People have to understand that, like, it's okay to be the loser sometimes. It gives someone else the opportunity to win. But yeah, that's another rant for another time. I can't remember my train of thought. It'll come back later. But,
I don't know if you guys remember the very first episode where we asked lots of people the questions. Jules, like one of the girls, she said, you know, being loyal to me isn't... Oh, do you remember what it was? Or was there something like just because being loyal to me isn't like just listening to everything.
Between loyalty and
just doing everything I say, just because. And that goes back to what you were just saying. Like, it's if you don't agree with something or you don't believe in the same thing, it's good to try and hash it out and get to the heart of the disputation, rather than just like, oh, fine, yeah, whatever you want to do, and then you have that like resentment stuck in your heart, and then so that's cool to see parents hash it out, but not to the point where like you're fist fighting or you gotta sleep angry or whatever. Like
facts.
But yeah, I just like the idea of the parents being like the direct role models for these kids, for them to see what it should be like. So that's on us as parents.
I don't.
Yeah, just understand that we all carry different baggages and different upbringings. So when we come together, there's a lot of trying to navigate that space together. And so for many people, they have that lack of understanding for each other. For years, they'll love someone a certain way, not realizing, shucks, you just didn't know their love language. You've been loving them a certain way and it hasn't been received well. So a lot of people split it up before their time, or you know, or like we attracted to someone because of physical attraction, but not knowing them like inside out. And so once you start looking different, it's like let about. So there's a lot of like navigating and evolving that people need to do.
It sounds like though, just that communication again is like another big part in a working relationship and everything within the family.
Yeah, because you would, like, obviously you work with those boys youth offenders. So what besides having no father, what do you see like the common theme or the common thread when you talk to these kids? Are they quite angry, or is there like, what's the attitude that they have?
Like a lack of belonging. So like what Phoenix said earlier, they will cling to places that will give them that sense of belonging, and a lot of it's the gangs. Because the gangs will show the brotherhood, the loyalty, the respect, the
coolness,
the
the swag of being a G.
But it seems like there's an innate ability for us even as men, for those guys who have no fathers. There's something in there like I need to be a man. I want to be a man. I need to find whoever it is, the right man, or the right influence to help me to be this man, or belonging, sense of belonging.
Man, this just made me like, and I know it's not the topic of the episode, but it just made me think like, see gangs differently. Like, are gangs really that bad if jail or suicide are the alternative?
Wow.
These kids, it's almost like, and I've sort of heard this from people that, because I always wonder like, why do people commit suicide in that? But it's because they have no way out. It seems like that's the only escape from the hell or the situation they're in now. And it seems like gangs are like, that seems like that's the only place they can go to, because at home it's all messed up, and these boys are offering me a place to be a part of something that means something, and I'm wanted there and I'm used there. So I see what you mean. Like,
and don't we have one of the highest youth suicide rates?
Yeah. We have. Yeah, we have the age bracket of 15 to 24, and so we're the second highest in suicide males.
Between 15 and 24 in the world.
Is that in total percentage to population?
Per capita.
Per capita, yeah.
That is shocking, man.
So yeah, but you're right. Like in terms of you're saying suicide, a lot of it's because of coping. You can't cope with something, and it just seems like that's the only option I have because I can't cope with it. Nothing's there to help me. So as much as they don't want to, it's like, oh, I just can't cope with the hurt or whatever the pain is. And so
that's another reason why I think the two parents will always beat one. It's just that different perspective, and like different options to go to in terms of finding a safe space and being able to voice whatever it is that you're struggling with.
I feel like finding
two in harmony. Sorry. If the two in harmony, because if they're both different, then they probably do more damage. Then some sort of parents like, oh yeah, it's all on me, so I can do. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I feel like it goes in with like your parents working in harmony is that you have like more options to find self-worth in, through your father and your mother, and take take the good in both of them, and critique of how do you want to break, what cycles do you want to break, and what cycles do you want to keep.
That's cool.
It's sad just thinking about that. You just made me think about the kids that have to grow up too fast. The older siblings who have to be parents for the younger siblings. And it's like they have to skip childhood almost to play this parental, to be the third parent in a family. Like that's, and I know it's been a big thing in, at least that I've seen in Pacific communities, especially when both parents are having to work to survive, or whatever the reason is, that both parents aren't in the picture, and like all the siblings have to play their role.
Especially when the onus is on the poor son. Like for example, dad's on the picture and the mum's mum will say, "Oh, you're the man of the house now," because like I don't know what a man's like. I don't know what to be a
what
man.
Does that mean?
I'm just a 5-year-old, 10-year-old kid. So all that expectation and unnecessary pressure. It's just.
There's a kid I had last week, 15. It's like his youthfulness was stolen from him because his parents just were not present. They weren't around. They were in and out of jail. So this kid at the age of 12 had to learn how to hustle, get out there, steal, so him and his siblings can survive. And so when you talk to this kid, he's like an old soul, like he's real experienced, but he's only 15. So he really wants to start working, and he's already got all these like dreams that he wants to achieve, like adult responsibilities. But I'm going to him, man, just enjoy your youthness because you won't get it back. Enjoy being a young person. But that's hard for him because that's all he knows.
Yeah.
And he's only 15, so that's sad.
That's sad, bro.
So a lot of these kids, man, they're just out there trying to hustle, trying to survive. So I guess it takes us adults to really, I don't know if you're like doing youth work or teaching or in the places of community services, like we're like the signposts to help point them into a different pathway from their reality.
Yeah.
So that really woke me up last week when spending time with this young person.
Yeah. Next section, I just wanted to bring up something that I came across. Essentially got me thinking about things that are unspoken about, I guess in this case, parental relationships. And one of the things that came to mind and that I sort of did some digging around was that all parents have a favorite child, even if they don't want to admit it. I don't know, I guess I'm curious for those who have kids, more than one kid. I don't know, what are your stance on that?
I know, like we've talked about this before.
Who's yours?
Bro, you can't, bro. Like, honestly, at least from my experiences where I say, I just feel like you cannot have a favorite child because it's just automatically sad to everyone else, man. That's just. Like, I love each of my children.
Yeah.
Nah,
Who do you like the most?
they're all.
for
That's
now.
funny. They're all like good at different things. So like, you know, if we need someone to go and do this, like, oh, Lincoln, he's the one. He's our runner. He's the go-to for this. But that doesn't mean I treasure him more than the other ones. It's just different. Like, yeah. Personally, I feel like that's just detrimental to your family because you're automatically, whether you like it or not, there's somewhat of a division. Like you're automatic. If there was one lifeboat and you know you had limited amount of people, you'll get that one and everyone else is left behind. I don't know. I think it's wrong.
So if that's the case, just to carry on from the analogy,
we all die.
There's a lifeboat.
We all die.
You can't all die. You have to say one of the things.
You can't get more. Can't get more, G. Or 21 or something, bro.
Gonna crack right now, bro.
Bro. Nah. I don't know. It's just. I've seen people who have had favorites, and it's so wrong, bro. It's just so because the other kids are aware that they're not the favorite, and then that person that is the favorite plays into that and gets their way all the time because they're the favorite.
Because I personally believe it's true. I think every parent has a favorite, even if they don't want to admit it, because it is detrimental. It's damaging to have, and you try and minimize it as much as you can. But I think the nature of human beings is like deep down, even if we dare not say it, I think there's a tendency to lean towards one over the others.
No,
Who was Mum and Dad's favourite child?
I don't know.
Who do you guys feel like? Is it just you two or?
Nah, there's 8 of us.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it went through phases. I think there was a
okay.
phase where I was the favorite child because Mum would just offload all of her stuff. But then I think eventually, like, well, maybe not the one.
Hannah.
But I think you had that role for a while, like after I was gone. Where like,
oh yeah.
oh no, yeah, Hannah, yeah. Oh, whoops, no names. That's not her name. Her name's not. But yeah, no, I think parents just at different stages of their life. But I do think that every parent has a. But that's just me.
Wow.
Do you have a favourite pick?
No, I'm with Brad on this one. Nah, because I think in terms of what so I'm into my sports. My son loves the sports, and so depending on, it's not even like choosing the favorite. It's just like, okay, I like this. My son likes this. Cool. Whereas Shali's more the performing arts. Cool. She likes this, and I like this. And so it's kind of like it's not even picking favorites. It's about picking the interests that they like. And then, because I'm interested in this. Oh yeah, sweet. My son likes this. I'll do this. She likes this. I'll do this. And I'm with you, bro. Like, bro, this, and like Jay already said, it's detrimental. Like, I'm saying that because I've first-hand experience in my family. Like, there's 5 of us, and I was the only boy. And so people thought, oh, automatically, only boy. Everyone here, he's the golden boy. We love him, all that kind of stuff. But I knew who my dad's favorite was. Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but
Don't say the name. Man.
Yeah. And so, even though I was the only boy, I know my dad was kind of like, yeah, this is my son. Because I think, only for the mere fact because I was his son. And I think because you're the one who's going to pass on the line or pass on
the last name.
Yeah, the name. And so it wasn't because because I'm the only boy, he's the favorite. Because I saw, like you're saying, there were phases when my sister, like, oh, well, you're the, and people was just like, oh, because you're the fairest, you're the most prettiest, so you're the favorite child. And so it was never like, okay, you're the favorite, you're this and that. But I think there were stages where, okay, because the parents like into something, or something they're really into right at the stage, that, okay, because my child likes this, then I'll do the same thing, because then I'll kind of give them some sort of extra attention. And so, but yeah, man, I just think, it's dangerous.
Did you see firsthand like the effects of your parents having a favorite?
Yeah, I did. Because my sisters automatically assume, oh, it's me, it's because he's any child. But I don't know, and like you're saying, you could play into it. I believe I didn't play into it like, oh, I'm the favorite child or anything. But yeah, it's damaging, because even if you like say, nah, it's all good, and even if you like, okay, maybe mum and dad pays more attention to me, I can easily play into that kind of role. But I never did that, and so, but you can see the shift of the mindset and the siblings and all that kind of stuff. That it can be very damaging. And so, but then again, you're saying, Jay, it's hard, because there are some. I've seen some parents who do show favoritism to anything. And so it's kind of like, for us, like nah. It's a no-no for us. But we've seen firsthand other parents have shown, like, like, nah.
When they openly say, like, this person is my favorite, like, man, that is sad.
Yeah, that's sad.
Openly say it, bro. Like,
is it because?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you go. Is it because they have like similar attributes to them,
maybe.
or they serve them more, or they're just more talented or something?
It could be anything. It could be like,
getting more money.
True.
Because I'll probably find out who my favorite is once they get into their 20s. The first one to buy me a car is my favorite. But you got heaps of. Do you have heaps of siblings?
Not as much as the brothers. I'm the middle of 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's a big gap between my eldest brother, my eldest, and my baby are biologically my half, but they're still my full brother and sister. But us three in the middle. It's funny you were talking about golden child, Pete, because when my older brother started playing rugby at 5 years old, he started playing, and then when he was in under 6s, I joined. In his team at a year younger, maybe because my parents were the coach and manager, but maybe because they just wanted to focus on him, So I was just kind of like the tag along. I was the winger. I was the little brother on the wing. I was a pussy back then. I was a little pussy back then. Like once I got tackled, bro, I'll cry and I'll get subbed out. And then there was this one day that I got where I got like, I think I got to run away or something. I don't know. I got to run away, and it was that it was always when we faced Mount Eden, the yellow and black team. They're always like pretty tough to beat. Got to run away. Almost got to try, and then this guy runs from the sideline. It comes and tackles me. I graze my knee on the sand and I cry. I get off. I get subbed out, and then I get player of the day that day. That was the most I had felt worth. Through all my rugby years, because I was just like the second tier to my older brother kind of thing. So I understood how much focus my parents invested into my older brother, and he was like best tackler from 5 all the way. He may have lost sight through like different priorities, different interests, doing rugby for so long that you kind of get bored of it. But he kind of lost his flair towards high school, and I think maybe girls or whatever, I don't know. But having that as a child, like being looked like at option 2 or option B, I didn't really know what my niche was until I found dance, and then I just started doing that, and then because my brother was academic, I wanted to be an academic as well, and I knew my brother was a golden child, the favorite child, like throughout my primary, intermediate years. But then I strive to try and surpass him, to try and surpass him. And then it was funny because then my brother called me the golden child boy. He's like, you always get everything. You get this, you get that. You always get all the congratulations. But I didn't really ask for it. I worked to get it, but then by the time I got it, I didn't want it anymore, kind of thing. Like, so when I did get that approval from my mum or dad, like, it was for them, but it wasn't. It was also for myself by then. Yeah. So that's interesting. That's an interesting conversation. Yeah. And there's that middle child syndrome. That, you got to make a name for yourself because you're the one that your parents forget your name. But yeah. But yeah, definitely phases. Because I did feel the favoritism, but yeah, I didn't like it.
That's me. I wonder, did you ever hear your parents verbalize that to you and your brother?
Nah.
It was just how they treated you.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a lot of our perceptions too. Like,
I was just gonna say that
because maybe because it's like everyone sees me and my son, and think he's my Billy. And it's because the way we are together, like we're just like best friends type of thing. But and then everyone sees me and my daughter very different. But I don't know, I can't say I have a favorite. Like, it's just our relationships are different, and like I love them the same, and I know that because. Yeah, I might clash a lot with my daughter, but I'm like always frustrated and wanting to be better because of my love for her. And it's just like, I just show it in different ways and my relationship with them in different ways. But so it'll be interesting to talk to my daughter and think, do you think I favorite your brother different? And it'll be interesting to have that conversation. I wonder what our conversation would be like with our parents if we asked him, did you ever have a favorite? I would, because you say you love me, but then I got heaps of haters.
And that's such a good point. Like, we don't know what's going through the kids' minds, so it's important that we at least have that conversation. Because
even with our parents, with probably that's the way they were adapting to us, like trying to parent to us. It's like, okay, you need this, or I'm trying to keep you humble, or I'm investing in this, but I love you, so you got to come here. It'll be really interesting to have these conversations.
That's a good point, and it's just made me think about how how children can misconstrue things or misinterpret things. Like just now, me saying, "Oh yeah, I thought I was mum's favorite." I just know that me and mum have a special connection, but she probably has that special connection with everyone. But I've interpreted that as like, I must be her favorite. And it wasn't until now that I'm like, actually, maybe I misinterpreted it. And I wonder if, like, say your boys, you want to treat them more equally, but I wonder if, like, you said Lincoln's the runner. So I wonder if Leon's like, man, I want to be the runner. Like, Lincoln the runner? Like, does that mean he's like dad's favorite, like for that kind of thing? So it's, that's a good point that you brought up. I think it's interesting to question.
Because we could. I mean, ideally, we all feel like the favourites. I mean, we all have a special, like you were saying, we have a special connection with the mum or dad, and they've taken the time to nurture that relationship with us so that we can feel like, man, they love me so much, like I'm like the favourite. But little do we know, or maybe we do know, that they have that relationship with all of the kids, and
it's just all different.
It's just all different. It's all different, and. So what is it like? If we're all the favourite, then no one's the favourite.
We're all part of the box of chocolate. The favourite. All different flavours.
Chocolate flavour.
You're a man. I'm a picnic. We're always on discount at the warehouse.
Turkish delight.
Yeah. It's the cherry ripe,
young man. No, I didn't mind this.
Oh yes, their favourite box. Turkish, throw it up.
That's interesting.
That's a good one, Jay.
It's good to sort of, like, at least for me as well, to keep me honest, to make sure that I'm making sure that the kids don't sort of feel like I'm favoritizing one of them more than the other.
Especially with boys.
Especially with boys. Yeah.
Like, I felt that.
True. I want to have a talk with my daughter. I don't want her feeling like she gets a certain communication from me that she feels less like favorite, or it's just the way.
Oh, he's not like that with
your
son.
Hey. So I see her clashing with him, like communicating to him the way I communicate to him. I was going, oh, okay. But it sounds yuck when I hear it. I was going, okay, I need to check this out.
That's funny, we learned something today at uni, because we're going out to school soon, and there's a misconception that we should treat all the kids the same, like they should all be equal. But they were telling us today that we should, everyone should be treated differently because every child is different. You just need to be able to make the effort to make that different, impactful and a positive experience.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's me.
That's a hard one with parents. Like, if there's like bad traits or like, you know, that your parents have that you don't want to carry on, where do you draw the line? Who do you blame? Because do you blame your parents, or do you blame their parents, or do you blame their parents, or do you blame their parents? Like, in what circumstances can you put it on?
Can you give us an example?
Like, my mum, her mum passed away when she was like 14, so I can't blame her for not, you know, being the best mum, or you know, or like, or any of that jazz. Because she lost her mum, and then, you know, before her mum, it was like old school Samoan where like dads can like just go sleep with anyone around the village, you know, like my mum told me about when her mum would let some stuff slide, some slice stuff slide in the family, you know, that will cause you know, trauma as a kids. This is for another episode actually, but like they'd go poker nights Thursday to Monday, wait until payday, Thursday to Monday, the next, like, just poker nights ongoing. Binge, like, so if I can't blame my mum for, you know, not upholding some of the things that I felt like wasn't upheld, how can I blame her when her parents didn't show her any role models? Well, and then how can I blame this and this and
That's
this?
so funny. I know I grew up like, once I left school, man, I had a lot of anger and hatred towards my parents, just because I resented them, because I felt like everyone else that I graduated school with had a head start. Like, they all knew how to finance and like handle their finances. They knew about how to pay bills and going out and renting and like living in places. And so I blamed my parents for that for the longest time. So like less than 5 years ago. And then what helped me see, like, essentially was realizing that they did the best they could with the knowledge they had been given. And so when I realized that, I was like, man, like, how could I expect them to teach me all these things? And the danger came when I started comparing myself to other people. So I was like, my parents' best is not going to be the same as other people's best, but their best that was what was best for me at that time in my life. Yeah,
that's me.
That's cool, man. That's so cool.
Because they probably didn't have financial literacy at all themselves. Exactly. They're still like trying to figure it out.
And that's going to be all of us as parents. Like, you know, we can only do the best, and we'll probably, the stuff we teach our kids will probably be outdated by the time they finish school, but that's all we can do. Like, we can't do any more than our best. So,
like, guaranteed our kids will go through school and there'll be at least one other or a few other people that they're like, man, why did they get that? Or why are their parents teaching them that my parents aren't? I mean, it's just going to happen because we're human and we're all at different sort of starting points. It's just,
our journeys are different, eh? Our race is different. Like, no one's in the same race. We're all just on our own pathway.
It brings up the idea of like not comparing. I think yourself to other people, not comparing one child to another child because they have different. Some of them might be more challenged than the other ones.
Yeah.
So man, sure for bringing that up, man. Cool. That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
But a good reminder, good reminder for us.
Address the unspoken. Let's get it.
Shot boys.
Awesome.
So, awesome telling no boys. Men.
Boy date.
Men date.
What's our takeaway from today? From just telling no?
Let's kick it off.
Some bread.
Oh. Backfire. Bro, there's a few, bro. There's so many. For me, it was something you said, bro, about the learning the languages of love for your kids. Or for people in your family, at least people that you live with, especially if you live with other people, because I don't think you live with your in-laws in that, so it'd be, I just feel like in terms of communication, and if you want to please them or if you want to show them that you love them, doing it the right way, the way that they receive love and the way they process love, it just makes sense, bro. Yeah. So that's a big takeaway for me. I'm excited to implement it. They're all really young, so I don't know how well the test will go. I think 2 of them are still in nappies, so it's going to be a struggle, but yeah. Shuttles. Phoenix?
Alright, something that stuck with me was what Jay said about our parents did the best they could with what they had, and that just real, put me in my place of like being grateful for them and not, trying to look at the flaws of them, but looking at the positives that they gave me as a child. And then one more as a parent, it's just understanding, like communicating. I think that was the recurring thing, is communicating. But then beyond communicating is like comprehending, like not just talking around the bush, like comprehend and go through the bush and like weed out all those thorns and all the weeds. Yeah.
That's me.
Cool.
Charles.
That's me.
Charles?
Yeah, I think throughout the Talanoa, I convicted a lot in terms of just nearly everything we talked about, and the whole theme around communication and just, one thing to like talk about it and identify it, but it's just applying it. So for me, the takeaway is like going away and really applying it and trying to communicate better with my daughter and anyone else really. And it's just a lot of trying to understand each other's personalities and being aware of people around you, so you can sort of communicate better in their language and in your own. But I think self-awareness is probably, like I learned heaps from Phoenix, like a lot of your upbringing, but you being aware or your whole self-awareness around, that's what happened, these are the cars that were dealt with, but you turned out pretty great, mate. And you're still in that process of sort of like, you're in the process of the journey, like all of us. Yeah, that's my takeaway. It's all a process.
I think there's a lot of gold nuggets tonight, but I think the thing that stood out the most was when Phoenix said there's a wholeness when both parents are parenting and looking after their kids. And I think I truly believe that. I truly believe that when both parents are who love each other, who want the best for their kids, and have this relationship or have this special relationship with their kids, there's something special in that. There's something that's, and I feel for those who raised up with solid parents. And so, I just really feel for those kids. And so, I think both parents, 2 is better than 1. So I think that's crucial, man. It's me.
Sure, that's cool. You sort of just made me realize the divine calling of parenthood. Aside from that, the points that I took away was when Phoenix brought up the idea of legacy. I think one of the takeaways from me is that legacy doesn't have to be an ideology. It doesn't have to be idealistic. It can be something tangible. It can be moments and memories and treasures. So there's that thing really stuck out to me. I'm really grateful that you shared that. And also just in terms of common theme was just how parenting of the past is different from parenting of the present, and how that'll also likely be different from parenting of the future. And just we do the best we can with what we've been given, and we just have to roll with the punches and make do with what we got, kind of thing. So just made me grateful that we're not alone in the struggles. Like hearing some of the stuff that you guys voiced is like, man, like that's cool. I can relate to different aspects of everything that everyone shared, and so it just made me grateful that I'm not alone.
That's me. Thanks, fam, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our talanoa.
If you connected with anything that we talked about today, or if you have any thoughts you want to add, please comment down below in the comments.
And like, share, comment, like Brad said, and subscribe to our YouTube for the full thing. And yeah, just keep following us on our journey.
And just from the bottom of our hearts, we're so thankful for all the support we've received thus far, and we look forward to journeying with you some more.
And as always, guys, refine,
unlock, and take charge.